Hello, dear hearts. I'm really grateful that I get to talk to you all here in a place like this. We say campo in Portuguese, in nature, I guess, in the olive groves, my favorite place. It's the eclipse, final eclipse in fact, of 2023, lunar eclipse in Taurus taking place, and it's taking place right now. The energy will be peaking this evening. If you want to know the specifics, it'll be peaking between 8 and 10 p.m. Paris, France time, 28th of October 2023. And what does that mean when an eclipse is peaking, whether it be lunar or solar? How does that work on the human plane? Are we able to amplify certain possibilities? Definitely. Are we also able to see things better? Well, whether we like it or not, yes. Because what happens is our inner polarities come face to face. Whether they're in opposition or union, depending on whether it be a solar or lunar eclipse, they still come face to face. And it can be extreme. It can also be at times impossible to deal with, because we're no longer in the conscious, confident control of our everyday affairs. We get taken down by the wave of the planetary forces. As I've always said all these years, eclipses are by far the strongest, and they always ensure the power of change. And change is an it's something that we fear so much, even though we're scared to admit it. We're terrified of it. It's like saying, okay, well, I want to make sure that all my bad experiences, they go away. But if I'm really content with something, I don't want to lose that. I don't want things to change so then I don't get to be happy anymore or lose what gives me a certain kind of joy or peace. But the gift of an ecliptic energy is that, well, change is going to happen no matter what. And it's going to perhaps even prepare us for the greatest change, which is death. And, Taurian, Scorpio, Taurian axis, we've shifted out of those lunar nodes. We've gone into the Aries, Libra, Aries directional, collective directional energy, which is going to go on for 18 months. But still, we're getting the last message here of this Scorpio, Taurus, Scorpio axis. And it's telling us collectively a lot of death has happened, inwardly, externally, in the most private of ways. A lot of endings in the last couple of years. And like the cycle of all things, it's a force that has to be seen as change above all, as the chance to change, the chance to shed one's skin, as we do in nature, as the snake does. It gets that perfect chance. When we look at butterfly's story, once was a caterpillar, had no idea about the butterfly whilst it was a caterpillar, but had to find comfort in some kind of cocoon, and then incredible things happen after that, something called metamorphosis. So it's difficult to envision butterfly and understand butterfly in the process of caterpillar. So if we're looking at our lives now, why would we be able to even envision a greater version of ourselves? I mean, we can aspire for it, we can have an idea about it, but that perfect state, that authentic presence that is so important and powerful when it comes to the teaching of both Taurus and Scorpio, specifically Scorpio, when we're going to the depths of essence. It's like saying, well, I'm not going to be scared of it. I'm not going to be held back by everyday affairs, and try my best to surrender to something greater than all things. The death in everything, the death in every day, the death in every night. And of course, losing things that mean something to us, that are important, it's inevitable to succumb to some kind of suffering or pain. That's the nature of things here in this plane that we belong to. I mean, we will feel it. It's a human experience. But also understanding the process of change. When something ends, somehow, somewhere, it begins again. How that happens, where it takes place, the best of us, that doesn't get lost. If we look at love, if we look at the heart, the capacity of love, for example, you give everything to something. You have given, let's say, 40 years of your precious human life to something. You have done everything correctly in your experience, in your heart, in your mind. You've been the most kindest, most certain devotee to a certain cause or a certain belief or a job or a person. Maybe it's a marriage, but let's just say you've done your best. And well, you don't know if the receiving end of that values or understands or appreciates what you've given, what you've been in that story, whatever, out of all these examples I've made. But the beauty of this teaching, of this eclipse, that endurance, the message of continuation, of not giving up, of being certain of a goal, as hard to imagine what butterfly may be like while still in the form of caterpillar. You can believe that it's possible, right? So what I'm trying to say is that whether or not the receiving end, the whole universe or the world around you or the people at the checkout when you're buying something receive your smile, or if you're madly in love with the person and they can't reciprocate that, or if you've given everything to your kids and you don't know if they value and respect what you've done for them or see it even. Let's just really get to the essence here. It doesn't matter. You've done it, right? Sincerely. So the point is, no matter what, if it's virtue, if that intention, if that essence is sincere, is true, is clean, then it cannot be touched, it cannot be stained, it cannot be destroyed, it cannot be broken. Doesn't matter what happens, how many times we change form, the greatness of butterfly takes place, all the wonderful things that we've been wishing for deep in our hearts, in the depths of our being, start to happen. It's like all that preciousness, all that will never be broken. So if we have to move on from things, if we have to say goodbye to when love isn't reciprocated, for example, or when circumstances aren't able to value everything, your vision, your care, what you're trying to accomplish, that ability to accept, but also be so gentle with yourself and warm with yourself as a parent, right? For example, who doesn't know if their kids understand their efforts and their care. Or the same goes for children too, with their parents. Do they know how much I love them? Do my parents know how much I'm, breaking my back for my mom, my dad? Do they get it? Why don't they understand? Do they feel it? Remembering this, you'll always be okay, guys. It doesn't matter whether it's validated, whether it's reciprocated, whether you get it how you want, whether the taste of the tea is delicious how you expect it. Whether or not, doesn't matter. The point is that you wanted with all your heart something precious, something true. You wanted, you did it, you did your best, you gave everything. That's how we are ready for death at the end of the day. When you die in peace, you have no heavy weight on your conscience. For example, if we look at ancient Egypt, when we're going through the underworld, traveling through the depths, the underworld, upon our death, our heart is weighed in front of the great mother goddess, Mat, with a feather. It's weighed. Now, if it's a heavy heart, you cannot ascend to the celestial dimensions. You cannot ascend to the enlightened realms, because how can you if you still have work to be done? Now, why didn't they weigh it next to the mind, or next to your bone marrow, or next to your foot? Why do you think they're weighing it with the heart? The heart, everybody. That's the best thing we have. In fact, it's the only thing we had. Our mind can just switch off. We can have complete Alzheimer's. We can go crazy if we accidentally do or purposely do. But whether we're conscious or not, the heart, that's the pulse. If we have that part of our being stopped, we're no longer in this body. So our heart is the place. It is the only thing worth your meditation, worth your authentic kind of care, concern, is checking in, going in, dropping into, as many say these days, dropping into this part of our being. And that's how we arrive to death. Death as literal, death as the divine opportunity of change, death as destructive change, death as just mundane change. We're doing it nobly because nothing weighs heavy on our conscious. And if it does, we have to then reassess what our expectations, intentions have been, right? If we're doing the best as a parent for something related to our own kind of name or status in society, instead of sincerely caring for the kid, well, it changes just how clean the intention is. In a relationship, just how much do we really care about the other person? Just how true is the care? And how about this? Just how sincere, just how true is our care towards ourselves? Just how kind are we? Just how warm are we with ourselves? How much do we kind of hold our core, and say, you're all right, you're doing your best? How often do we do that? Or we just keep whipping our backs until, we fall down dead and we don't know who's going to pick us up. So in this whole process, so we don't collapse and don't know who's going to pick us up, there has to be a lot of joy coming from the fact that we do our best, that we try our best, because of our inner capacity within the chambers of our heart. And it will never get lost, everybody. It will, like I said, you love someone so much, doesn't get reciprocated, fine, but you did that, right? You had that chance. Love is a high frequency thing when it is sincere. You had that chance, so fine, you did it. It was wonderful, great. Now you can know that there is always going to be a place, there's always going to be somewhere in this infinite universe that we belong to, where that will always be worth something. Okay? So the intensity of this Scorpio, very severe intensity of this Scorpio, Taurus, Scorpio, lunar eclipse, well, on a, overall global level, it's attacking our resources, banking systems. It's also being quite worldwide, when we look at the path of the eclipse. And I think it's going to make us want to put more effort into nourishing, because the lunar energy is about nourishing the best of our resources and the best of our practical affairs, the ones that actually are juicy, have flavor, that make us happy deep down. Why be a slave? Why be a slave to things that don't bring us that relationship to soul? Let's try a bit more delving into things that have soul, that have meaning, that make us beam because we're happy to do it, even if it's one day a week. Whether it's a craft, whether it's voluntary work, whether it's changing your career, whether it's making what you love your profession, but it's time to really nourish and care for what makes that best of us beam. So yes, I could talk about mundane affairs worldwide on a collective level, but I'm going to leave that for another type of astrological update. I just wanted this to be really kind of for you to listen to this as the individual contributing to the whole, and to get inspired, to get really inspired by the capacity of the heart. And that's the only thing I've been living by my whole life. My mind is quite, I mean, it's there, but my heart has been the only thing. And it's hard, guys. It's not easy being that honest, being that sincere with yourself all the time. However, you won't lose in the end. Nothing gets wasted if you're doing everything from your heart space. So, thank you, everybody. Blessings from the olive groves. It's my favorite place. May all be auspicious.